For this lesson, I've decided to use one of the 7 comprehension strategies, schema, and the standard that I've used for that is the Reading Language Arts Standard 1.7. It says, use illustrations and details in a text to describe its key ideas. This lesson is primarily made for first grade readers. And the handout I have is just a quick, easy thing, just gives you a general rundown of schema. And it says schema helps us to understand how a character feels, how the setting, why a character does something, a character's thinking, and problems in a text. It also reminds us that schema, that we can relate text to self. So what are we getting out of the book that we can relate to ourselves? And then some root thinking that students can see is, that reminds me of, I am remembering, and I have a connection to. The book I've chosen to use is Morigami by Dory Kleber, published in 2016. And a quick rundown of this book is, we have our main character Joey on the cover right here. So Joey learns what origami is, and he wants to become a master paper folder. But he kind of goes, through the ups and downs emotionally of what it takes to become a master paper folder. And what I want my students to do is, using schema, I want them to kind of start connecting and trying to understand the feelings that Joey is going through throughout the story. And the book starts, Joey loved things that folded. He collected old road maps, he played the accordion, he slept in a fold-away bed. One day, Sarah Takamoto's mother came to school. She took a plain piece of paper, she folded it and flipped it and pulled it until it became a crane. Joey's eyes popped, his jaws dropped. Miss Takamoto called it origami. I want to make origami, Joey told her. Will you teach me? I can show you the folds, she said, but if you want to be an origami master, you'll need to practice and patience. And right here we can notice Joey, he's looking of shock, and then in the text it says his eyes dropped, his eyes popped, his jaws dropped. Joey started that afternoon. He practiced on his notebook paper and on his construction paper from the art shelf, but even his simple shapes were crooked and crumpled. So he practiced on his homework. And on the newspaper, and on his sister's sheet music, and he practiced on all the gift wrap, and on the recipe for Aunt Vivian's pineapple surprise. And on the $38 in Mom's purse. This folding has to stop, said Mom. Joey drooped. How would he ever become an origami master without practice? And then if we notice here through the illustrations, we can see Joey looking sad because his mother's making him stop folding paper. He went next door to Muy Mexicana. Fajitas always made him feel better. Joey, Mr. Lopez sang. Hey, what's wrong? It takes practice and patience to be an origami master, Joey said. But whenever I practice, everyone else loses their patience. Many artists are misunderstood, amigo, said Mr. Lopez, especially when they are just learning. And right here we can still see Joey kind of in his sad phase, his head's down, he's not really looking at anybody. What's that? Mr. Lopez asked, pointing to Joey's napkin. A pyramid, said Joey. Sorry. No, don't apologize, Mr. Lopez said. I like it. It makes the table look fancy. Could you make more? Joey grinned. I could make 100. So Joey folded and folded and folded until pyramids perched on every table in the restaurant. Each day after school, Joey went back to Muy Mexicana. He folded napkins into fans. He made candlesticks. Then he tried crowns. Some napkins toppled, others flopped, but Joey kept folding until they were perfect. And then on this page, we can see Joey's starting to smile because Mr. Lopez is telling him, how good he wants him to fold paper and all the napkins on his tables. And then here we can see Joey with his tongue out a little bit, looking real determined because he's practicing all of his folds. Finally, he was ready to try the most difficult fold of all. He took a crisp napkin, he folded, he flipped, he pulled. It worked, a crane. At last, he was an origami master. And then right here we see Joey's sense of accomplishment because he finally got to fold the crane that he's been trying so hard for. Just then, a girl walked in. She was waving a paper fan. Her eyes popped, her jaw dropped. "Did you make that?" she asked. Joey nodded. And then we notice this little girl, she comes back in with the same reaction that Joey's got when he first saw someone make a crane. "I can show you how," said Joey, "but I should warn you, it takes practice and lots of patience." And then that's the end of the story. From here, I want to transition into our activity. So our activity would be, students would get a couple emotions that they'd have to describe those emotions, and then ways that they feel those emotions, whether it be at school, at home, what have you. And those emotions are the ones in our book. We're going, because Joey was surprised, he was determined, he was sad or mopey, he was happy, and then at the end he was accomplished. So I want students to be able to describe those 5 emotions and tell how they feel those emotions or what makes those emotions for them. And then also with that, since we're dealing with first graders, I wanted to get a little bit of arts and crafts involved. So I was going to have, along with all our emotions, they have to draw a face, or they have a face template, and they have to draw those emotions or what they think they are. The reason for this activity is because we're not really, in this book, we're not really focusing more on the origami. We're more focused on the character Joey and his emotions and how he feels, and how to use schema to connect our feelings with his. Because students, they can feel a lot of those emotions every day, and I think it's important for them to recognize the emotions and know what comes from those emotions and how they're evoked.